She believed her bedroom was the safest place in the world. A small room, a warm bed, soft lights, a quiet street outside. For Celeste Manno, the bedroom was where the day ended and peace was supposed to begin. Celeste was a young woman with a normal life. She worked, she had friends, and she followed a routine that made her feel in control. Every night, she locked the front door, checked her phone one last time, and went to sleep in the same room she had slept in for years. Nothing about her life looked dangerous from the outside. The house stood in a calm neighborhood. The street lights were dim but familiar. Cars passed once in a while, but most nights were silent. Her bedroom window faced the street. It was something she never thought about. To her, it was just glass, curtains, and fresh air. But sometime in late 2020, small things began to feel wrong. At first, it was just a feeling. The kind of feeling you ignore. A sense that someone was watching. Celeste would be on her phone late at night when she felt uneasy, like eyes were on her even though the room was empty. She told herself it was stress, or imagination, or fear with no reason. Then came the messages. Unknown accounts started appearing online. Short texts, strange comments. Nothing openly violent. Nothing illegal. Just enough to make her uncomfortable. She blocked them. More appeared. Different names. Same tone. Always watching. Always knowing too much. She tried to stay calm. She did what many people do. She adjusted her privacy settings. She avoided certain places. She told herself it would stop. It didn't. Outside her house, late at night, sounds began to stand out. A soft movement. A pause. A shadow that seemed out of place. She looked through the window once, then quickly stepped back. The street looked empty. No one was there. Or so it seemed. Celeste started sleeping with the lights on. She kept her phone close. She double-checked the locks before bed. Friends noticed a change in her voice. She sounded tired. Nervous. Like someone who could not fully relax anymore. She reported what was happening. The situation was noted. Messages were logged. But there was no clear threat. No clear crime. Just fear. Days passed. Weeks passed. And the routine continued. What Celeste did not know was that someone had already learned her habits. Someone knew when the lights went off. Someone knew which room was hers. Someone knew where she slept. Late at night, while the house was quiet, the street outside her bedroom window was not as empty as it looked. A man stood there more than once. Silent. Still. Watching. He did not knock. He did not speak. He did not leave signs behind. He simply observed. Night after night. Learning. Waiting. Inside the room, Celeste felt safe enough to sleep. She believed the walls protected her. She believed the window was just a window. She had no idea that the distance between her bed and the outside world was only a thin sheet of glass. And as the nights continued, the line between watching and acting began to fade. Because when someone watches long enough, curiosity can turn into obsession. And obsession does not stay quiet forever. What Celeste didn't know was this. The danger she feared was not coming toward her. It was already there, standing outside her bedroom window. Celeste tried to live like everything was normal, but something inside her had already changed. She woke up each morning with the same thought in her mind. Someone out there was thinking about her, watching her, and waiting. She could not explain it clearly, but fear had quietly become part of her daily life. At work, she checked her phone more than before. New notifications made her heart race. Sometimes there was nothing there. Other times, there were messages from accounts she did not recognize. The words were short and cold. He knew where she went. He knew when she was alone. She blocked each account, hoping that would end it. It never did. Every few days, a new profile appeared. Different name. Same feeling. The messages were not loud or angry. That made them worse. They felt calm, confident, and patient. Like someone who believed he had time. Celeste started changing her routine. She left work earlier. She avoided familiar paths. She stayed close to friends when she could. At night, she kept her curtains closed and her lights on. Sleep became light and broken. She finally decided to speak to the police. The report was taken seriously, but there was a limit. No direct threats had been made. No physical contact had happened. The messages were disturbing, but not enough to arrest someone. She was told to keep records and stay alert. She left the station feeling both relieved and helpless. The man behind the messages, however, felt something very different. To him, the warning was not a stop sign. It was a challenge. He knew she had gone to the police. He knew because he had been watching closely. He adjusted his behavior, becoming quieter and more careful. The messages slowed, but they did not stop completely. Instead, they became more personal. He knew her schedule. He knew her room. He knew the window. Late at night, he stood across the street, blending into the darkness. Cars passed without slowing. Neighbors slept. From where he stood, he could see a soft glow behind her curtains. He memorized when the light went off. He memorized how long the house stayed silent. Inside, Celeste tried to convince herself she was safe. She reminded herself that the doors were locked, that the police knew, that nothing bad had happened yet. She told friends she was okay, even when her voice shook. But fear has a way of speaking louder in silence. Each night, she listened. Every sound felt sharp. Every movement felt close. She slept with her phone in her hand, waking at the smallest noise. What she did not know was that the man watching her felt invisible. He believed no one noticed him. He believed he was smarter than the system. Each night without consequences made him bolder. In his mind, he was no longer just watching. He was planning. And as the days passed, the distance between thought and action became smaller. Celeste felt the pressure building, but she did not know why. She sensed that something was coming. Something final. Something she could not escape. The warning signs were there. But the clock was already moving toward a moment no one could stop. That by early November, the tension around Celeste was impossible to hide. Friends noticed her hands shaking when her phone buzzed. She laughed less. She slept less. Fear followed her everywhere, like a shadow she could not outrun, even during bright afternoons in public places where she once felt completely safe. She spoke more openly about the man watching her. She told coworkers she felt hunted. At home, she kept lights on late into the night. Her bedroom no longer felt calm. It felt exposed, like the walls themselves were slowly closing in with every passing hour. She waited silently alone. A few days before everything ended, Celeste contacted police again. Her voice sounded tired but firm. She explained the messages had returned. The fear was growing. This time, officers spoke to the suspect directly and told him to stop contacting her immediately. They believed the warning would be enough now. To Celeste, the conversation brought short relief. Someone had finally listened. She believed the man would disappear. She believed rules would protect her. That night, she told herself she could sleep. For the first time in weeks, hope quietly returned, but fear still waited just beneath her calm surface quietly. For the man watching her, the warning felt different. It felt insulting. He believed he had control. Being confronted did not scare him. It pushed him further. In his mind, the situation had reached a point where silence was no longer acceptable, and patience slowly turned into dangerous resolve inside. He returned to the street that night. He stood in the same place, across from her window. The house was quiet. Curtains closed. Lights dim. He waited and watched, believing this moment was his. No one noticed him standing there in plain sight as time passed slowly around him endlessly. Inside, Celeste tried to enjoy a normal evening. She showered, changed clothes, and prepared for bed. She checked her phone one last time. There were no new messages. She took that silence as safety and turned off the main light, hoping the night would finally pass peacefully without fear tonight. But silence can be misleading. Outside, the man felt encouraged. He believed the warning had changed nothing. He believed he was still unseen. Each quiet moment fed his confidence. The longer he waited, the more certain he became that this night mattered more than any other before it for him. Celeste lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her body was tired, but her mind stayed alert. She listened to the sounds of the house. Pipes, wind, distant cars. Every noise blended together, making it hard to tell what was normal and what was not anymore in that moment alone. She thought the worst was behind her. She believed the police warning had ended it. She did not know someone had taken that warning as permission. Outside, the man adjusted his stance, his focus sharp, his decision already made while the street remained quiet and empty around him at night. Time moved slowly, then all at once. The distance between the sidewalk and her bedroom felt small. Too small. What had started as watching had become something else. A final step waited ahead, one that could not be taken back and would change everything forever after tonight for them both. Celeste closed her eyes, unaware of how close danger truly was. Outside, the man waited for the right moment. Two lives stood on opposite sides of a window. One expected sleep. The other expected control. Only one would see morning when darkness finally gave way to truth, and silence ended. Start with part 5 more unique and complete in exactly 600 words. Start with part 67 more unique and complete in exactly 600 words. The morning after the attack, the quiet street filled with flashing lights and confusion. Police tape stretched across the road. Neighbors stood outside in shock, whispering questions nobody could answer. Inside the house, officers moved carefully, documenting every detail left behind during the violent night that changed lives forever thereafter. News spread quickly. The victim was identified as Celeste Manno, a young woman who had asked for help. Detectives confirmed the crime was targeted, not random. Attention turned toward her recent reports and the man who refused to disappear from authorities, despite repeated warnings given earlier during tense interactions alone. Police began a fast search. Officers reviewed messages, online accounts, and surveillance footage. Patterns appeared quickly. The suspect lived nearby and knew her routine well. His name surfaced within hours, shocking those who believed warnings would stop him before harm happened. But they underestimated obsession and ignored escalation signs completely. He was arrested without resistance. Evidence connected him directly to the scene. During questioning, detectives learned how long the obsession had grown. He admitted watching the house and memorizing her movements. What sounded unreal was now confirmed as terrifyingly real after months of stalking, fixation, planning, silence, patience, darkness, control. The community demanded answers. How had this been allowed to happen? Why were warnings not enough? Media pressure grew as details became public. Friends spoke about fear and ignored signs. The case became a symbol of danger hiding behind delayed action that failed victims, protections, systems, trust, urgency, accountability nationwide. As investigators rebuilt the timeline, one truth stood out clearly. This crime was not sudden. It was built step by step. Each message, each night, each ignored fear added weight. The arrest closed one chapter, but questions remained unanswered about prevention, responsibility, failure, awareness, response, timing, safety, systems, change, future. For Celeste's family, grief replaced waiting. Their warnings echoed through interviews and courtrooms. They wanted others to listen sooner than they had been heard. They wanted change. Justice would come, but it would never restore what was taken from a life, future, voice, safety, peace, dreams, trust, time, love, forever. The investigation moved forward, but the impact stayed behind. Streets felt less safe. Windows felt closer. The case forced a hard look at stalking laws and response times. Part 5 ends here, but the story is far from over with trials, truth, consequences, reflection, reckoning, awareness, lessons, warnings, memory, justice. Authorities prepared for trial while the suspect waited in custody. Prosecutors reviewed evidence carefully. Every message became proof. Every step he took was traced. The timeline showed failure after failure, moments where stronger action might have changed everything before violence. Loss, tragedy, shock, grief, sorrow, accountability, awareness, reform, urgency mattered. Public anger grew stronger. People questioned systems meant to protect. Online discussions spread fast. Many shared similar fears and experiences. The case no longer belonged to one family. It became a warning story for everyone watching and listening about stalking, escalation, ignored, signs, danger, silence, delay, prevention, action, responsibility. Now, detectives spoke publicly, explaining how obsession can hide in plain sight. They urged people to report early and repeatedly. Patterns matter. Persistence matters. Waiting can cost lives. The investigation aimed to honor the victim by pushing awareness forward through education, policy, training, vigilance, seriousness, response, reform, change, effort, focus, commitment. As Part 5 closes, the truth becomes clear. This was not just one man's crime. It was a chain of missed chances. The next chapter will decide punishment, accountability, and what justice truly means after irreversible loss for victims, families, communities, systems, society, law, safety, memory, lessons, change, prevention, hope. Months after the arrest, the courtroom became the final stage of the story. Reporters filled the benches. Family members sat together, holding hands, waiting for answers that would never feel complete. The judge entered, and the room fell silent, heavy with expectation and grief. Prosecutors laid out the timeline in clear order. Messages, warnings, surveillance, the nights of watching, the final act. Each detail showed intent and planning. The defense offered little to challenge the facts. Evidence spoke steadily, without emotion, yet its weight pressed on everyone present. The verdict came with certainty. Guilty. The sentence followed. A long prison term meant to protect others and mark the seriousness of the crime. There was no celebration. Only a quiet understanding that justice can exist without healing every wound. For the family of Celeste Manno, the ruling closed one door and opened another. Life after court meant learning how to carry loss. They spoke about her kindness, her plans, her laughter. They asked for change, not sympathy, urging people to take stalking seriously before it turns deadly. Outside the courthouse, the case sparked a wider conversation. Laws were reviewed. Training was discussed. Officers spoke about patterns and escalation. Advocates pushed for faster action when warnings appear. The message was simple and urgent. Early steps can save lives. Communities listened. Many recognized the signs they once ignored. Late messages. Repeated contact. Fear that seems small until it grows. The story became a lesson shared in workplaces, schools, and homes. Awareness replaced silence, and silence had been the stalker's ally. The house where the crime happened stood quietly. The window was repaired, but the memory remained. Neighbors changed routines. Lights stayed on longer. People checked in on one another. Safety felt fragile, yet shared responsibility felt stronger than before. Time moved forward, as it always does. Birthdays passed. Seasons changed. Grief softened, but never vanished. The family found purpose in speaking out, honoring her by protecting others. Their strength became part of her legacy. The final truth of this case is not only about punishment. It is about attention, about believing fear, about acting before obsession crosses a line. The warning signs were present. The cost of delay was unbearable. As the story ends, one question remains for every viewer. When someone says they are being watched, will we listen? Will we act? Or will we wait for silence to break again? Justice closed the case. Memory keeps it open. The case also changed how investigators talk about risk. They explained that obsession often grows quietly, fed by access and delay. Small acts matter. Saving messages matters. Speaking up matters. Listening matters. Prevention is not dramatic, but it is powerful. It relies on shared effort and quick response. Friends noticing fear. Employers offering flexibility. Platforms acting faster. Police following patterns, not waiting for threats. These steps build a net that can stop harm before it reaches a door or window. The lesson is not to live afraid, but to live aware. Trust instincts. Ask questions. Keep records. Support those who feel watched. Believe them early. The cost of care is small compared to loss. This story ends with resolve, not despair. Resolve to notice. Resolve to act. Resolve to protect. Remembering her means changing habits today. Check on neighbors. Walk friends home. Report patterns early. Demand action. Share resources. Teach boundaries. Protect privacy. Care loudly. Silence helps harm. Attention saves time. Time saves lives. Choose courage daily, together, until systems respond faster and no one sleeps afraid behind a window again. Listening early turns fear into safety and changes outcomes for everyone everywhere.